The first time Victor Wembanyama and Trey Young faced each other was an unrelenting epic to the very end. But surprisingly, it was Trey's defense that would end up being the talk of the town by the end of the battle. Trey's basketball wizardry in this game started, however, on the offensive end. Here, Trey hits Clint Capella at the right mid-slot and then sets an off-ball screen for Murray before coming back and getting the handoff from Clint. From there, he already has a step on his defender, so he drives and draws two more Spurs defenders in the paint. But when he goes up for the layup, he sees Wemby pursuing. So Trey gives up the wide open layup to pass out to Murray instead for the slightly contested pull-up jumper. 23% of Trey's possessions end up with a shot at the rim, but unfortunately, he is a really bad finisher there, shooting a mere 44.7%. The reason why Trey decided to give up that wide open layup in the last possession is because of Wemby's ungodly block radius. When Trey comes off the ball screen from Bay, he puts Sochan in jail and plays the in-between game. With Wemby completely turned around, Trey decides to go for the finish at the rim, but despite trying to bait Wemby with a patented rondo move, he gets annihilated at the rim. Trey is 6'1" versus Wemby's 7'4". With that height and length difference, the outcome is inevitable. But the Hawks have other angles of attack to exploit. Here, Trey comes off the ball screen from Hunter, and Sochan works hard to trail and recover. So Trey counters his recovery with a spin pass. From there, the Hawks go into their second action, where DeAndre Hunter fakes a dribble handoff to Murray, but instead he keeps the ball and finishes at the rim for the easy two. Trey Young is one of the best passers in the NBA. He is averaging 10.6 assists per game. This puts him ahead of Nikola Jokic at 9.2, and only second to Tyrese Halliburton, who leads the league with 11.8. The way that he manipulates the defense is unbelievable.
Pass out of the double team you were talking about, Nick. Great pass from Trae to Okongwu.
Here, Capella comes up to set the ball screen, but Trae rejects it. Vassell does a good job of staying in front on the drive. So Trae resets, and this time he uses the ball screen. The defense counters with a soft blitz. But instead of hitting the roller, Trae fakes as if he is going to hit Saddiq Bey in the left corner for the three. This pulls Sochan out of the paint, and only after Sochan bites on the bait does Trae hit Capella, who has all the room in the world to flash down the easy dunk. Beautiful, gorgeous, magnificent. Wemby's defense was insane in this game. He finished the game with 6 stocks, which is a combination of 2 steals and 4 blocks. On this baseline out-of-bounds play, Trae pitches it to Capella at the left slot. But Wemby sees this and reaches to the heavens to intercept the pass, which leads to a steal and the transition. But the offensive end was where Victor really showed off. Here he gets the rebound and then pushes it in transition. When he approaches the three-point line, he sizes up his defender, floats outside his hip with a hang dribble, and then punches the gap before bodying Capella out of the way for the and one finish. 46% of Victor's possessions end at the rim, and he is a very good finisher, which is not surprising. Currently, Victor is finishing at a 68% clip around the rim.
On the drive, and one.
Here, Victor sets the pin down for Keldon Johnson and then transitions into the secondary action where he gets the ball at the left slot. From there, he uses a float dribble to fake the pull-up and Capella bites. So Victor takes the advantage by punching the gap and then pulling up above the nail for the soft mid-range jumper.
Wemby pulls up.
Unfortunately, he is shooting an unacceptable 38% from this range. When Trae tries to lob the ball to Capella, Wemby blocks it, and Sochan initiates the fast break by pitching it ahead to Zach Collins. Zach hits the trailing giant, and it's a thunderous dunk for 2. On the season, the Spurs have the 3rd worst offense in the league, which has contributed to this never-ending losing streak. But you would not have been able to tell from this game, because they played a brand of basketball so solid that your eyes couldn't help but be glued to your screen. But the shining star for the Spurs would be one man, Jeremy Sochan. Currently, Sochan is shooting 42% on 2.1 attempts from 3, and he has become a merchant of the corner 3, as you can see from these clips right right here. But what's so special about the corner three? Well, from a return on investment standpoint, the corner three is the second most efficient zone on the court. Besides shots at the rim, the corners provide the best bang for your buck, bar none. However, despite his burgeoning love of the corner three, 71% of Sochan's shots are at the rim, and he is an average finisher, shooting 56.6% there. Here, Sochan cuts to set the ball screen, but when he gets to the screen, he decides to slip the screen and roll for the alley-oop lob dunk at the rim. But the player of the game would be Trey Young, who exploded for 45 points, each point louder than the one before. Here, Trae comes off the ball screen from Onyeka Okongwu, and with his defender in jail behind him, Trae puts on the brakes, backs up into his defender's body before shooting the and-one jumper, which banks in.
Fouled, and it goes in! Count the basket! How about that shot?
And Wemby a little bit too far back, and Trae just baited him into following him.
But this is just step one of him completely toying with the Spurs' defense. With 6 seconds left in the third, Trae gets the ball and then starts his attack after crossing the half-court line. From there, he draws two defenders and then sidesteps just below the left elbow for the one-legged fading runner over Wemby.
And that makes it a 4-point game. Trae got it off in plenty of time.
22% of Trae's possessions end in a runner, but he is an average finisher, shooting 42.5% on those shots. In early offense, Trae comes off the ball screen and again uses the float dribble to draw Wemby for the shot fake. Wemby bites, so Trae snakes the screen and roll for the wide open layup. With his team down 7 and 8 minutes left in the game, Trae uses the ball screen and then plays the in-between game, leaving his defender trailing from jail. When he hits the paint, he takes one step, slows down to freeze the defense, and then explodes for the underhanded layup at the rim.
Trae off this big run. There's Collins right there. You got to be able to help him recover, and that's not very good.
However, 55% of Trae's offensive possessions end in a jump shot. And of those jump shots, 80% of them are pull-up jumpers, which Trae is very good at, finishing with an effective field goal percentage of 51% on those shots. And we see exactly that on this play. With just over a minute left in the game, Trae eats up the shot clock and then uses the ball screen before using a yo-yo dribble to freeze Wemby before pulling up to shoot the floating jumper over the Giant, which banks in.
Arguably his most incredible shot of the night.
But even though Trae is known as an offensive player and a defensive liability, it would be his defense that would win the game. With the Hawks up 2 with 6 seconds left in the game, Bey enters a bad pass into Onyeka Okongwu, which gets stolen by Sochan. And when Sochan gets to the paint on the fast break, Trae takes the charge and it's an offensive foul on Sochan, which ends up being the game-winning play.
Hey, did he take the charge?
That's a charge. That's a charge.
Almost a turnover, but you were able to take that charge. What went on in that play?
They kind of doubled me on the out of bounds, and then they got the steal, and I was the only one back, and just try to make a play. I got to make a play for my team, and that's what happened.
The first time Victor Wembanyama and Trey Young faced each other was a classic epic to the very end. But surprisingly, it was Trey's defense that would end up being the talk of the town by the end of the night. Anyways, wherever you are in the world, be the GOAT of that moment. Stay goated.
This is a great steal, but look who's over. He had two guys that he could have given the ball to. Trae, good job of getting there just in time.